Sponsored by the Big 98, Nashville's #1 for new country and the home of the Bobby Bones Show.
The Rocket Review is thrilled to be catching up with award-winning singer, songwriter, and co-founder of the hit band Yes, and also a member of the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, Jon Anderson. Thanks for coming on the show, Jon.
Thank you very much.
You've accomplished so much, and you're one of the best known, I think, in the world, progressive rock voices. And this new album that you just came out with that's releasing the end of this month, July 31st, 1,000 Hands, just amazing.
Thank you. I'm very, very proud of the album. As I mentioned earlier, it took 30 years to make it because half of the songs I wrote 30 years ago in the mountains of Big Bear on my little studio complex at a 16-track Akai. And I invited musicians to come up to Big Bear and we work out. I had an A-frame. I went skiing every day. I was just getting away from the craziness of Los Angeles and wrote some songs and took one of the songs down to LA because Chris and Alan were there, Chris Squire, Alan White, and got them to play on it. And I started thinking, wouldn't it be great to get as many people as I know to play on this album? Because it's just a bunch of songs, come on. And lo and behold, the tapes were in my garage for 28 years until this producer guy, Michael Franklin, got in touch and said, please send me the tapes. I'll put them in the oven, which you have to do, and they can only play once, straight to computer. And he sent me mixes back, and I said, wow, it sounds pretty good. And I said, I've always wanted Billy Cobham to play on a track or two. He said, I know Billy. And I said, oh, okay. And that was Michael Franklin. Oh, I know Ian Anderson. Oh. And he knew all these people because that's what he does. He makes records, And he knew Chick Corea. So you get a song like Come Up with Billy Cobham playing on it, Chick Corea, and then Jean-Luc Ponty in the middle. And we had these wonderful singers, the troupe that I saw 30 years ago. I saw this troupe called Zap Mama. Mm-hmm. And they're wonderful ladies that came from Belgium, and some of them were from Africa, and very North African energy, the vocalization and everything. And he got them to sing on it. And it was the last 2 years. It was amazing how the album just blossomed, and we needed a couple of new songs. So I've actually got into this process over the years of singing every morning, and I call it vocalizationing, where I come in and I have a groove track with nothing on it but maybe bass and drums or something, and I do beep and bop and beep and bop and beep and bop, and I add another one, da-ba-da, da-ba-da, that kind of thing. And you finish it with this collage of voices. And I sent him a couple just as an idea. I didn't know what he was going to do. And one of them was called Ramalama. And the other one of
my favorites.
Yeah, the other one was called Where Does Music Come From? And he actually goes to China quite a lot. He's married to a Chinese lady, Nana. And he actually did the music for Where Does Music Come From on the plane from Orlando to China. Because he had all the sounds in his computer. So it's like, in the 21st century, look what you can do.
Well, and I've got to hand it to you also, Jon, where, obviously, you've co-written some of the greatest, songs, rock and roll songs in history over the years. But with this album, it seems to me like you've taken the Yes sound and brought it into the new to now, to where, listening to the entire album, as I have multiple times, to where it's like you've got so many different styles of music within it. But I think also a lot of it speaks to your previous bands that you've been in throughout the years, your previous career, which I got to ask you this question too. Is it true that you started playing music with a washboard in a skiffle band?
It was called the Little John Skiffle Band. And I played the washboard, and we would sing two guys with guitars and some guy on a bass drum, just a bass drum, that's all they had. And we used to sing Lonnie Donegan songs. This is like in 1953, and made a hell of a noise. I know that.
Well, and I was going to bring it up too, listening to the album, and I know that, part of the reason that you called it A Thousand Hands is because of all the great musicians involved. But it was interesting to me to where the song that Ian Anderson is involved in, I thought, wow, this really sounds like Ian Anderson. And then I go back and read your notes. It's like, well, because it was.
Yes, of course. I couldn't believe it, because the track I did up in Big Bear 30 years ago, and then Michael sent it to me. I said, I've got a surprise for you. I said, okay. And I started listening. I went, who's playing that flute? Do we need to have that flute in that part? He said, it's Ian Anderson. Oh, God, leave it in.
Which, I think it's incredible, speaking to your talent and gifts and everything too, John, that you haven't rested on your laurels. You continue to create new music and do new things, just like your painting as well, where you're constantly creating still.
True. I mean, my latest painting is in the kitchen here. I'm in my cottage at the moment, but I've actually started this whole new thing of adding, I'll show you later. You do a painting and then you start adding twigs and leaves and things to it using it's called super glue, not super glue, it's hot glue or something like that.
Ah.
So I'm always busy painting as well as singing and playing, and I'm now working on my big work, which is kind of crazy. But if you Google Jon Anderson Joyfulness, there's this bunch of music that I did last year in the space of 1 week, and it's just music that I zoned in and just created 2 minutes here, 3 minutes there, 2 minutes, 1 minute, 3 minutes. At the end of 3 or 4 days, I left it and said, oh, what am I doing? I don't know what I'm doing here. And then after the tour, I was on tour 1,000 Hands Band, some of the beautiful musicians. And I came home and I started listening to this music, and I went, wait a minute. It actually fits together like a jigsaw puzzle.
Wow.
So I stuck it together and I made 4 20-minute pieces. And it's called Hopefulness, Joyfulness, Gratefulness, Thankfulness. And I sent them to my friend Mick Byrne, who's my video guy up in Northern Ireland there. And he just did all these beautiful visuals. So now you can go on YouTube and watch and listen to the music. But it's not something, it's funny, it's not something you sort of listen to. You just you can carry on doing other stuff and just hear it. Because it's ambient music and there's birds singing. I recorded the birds outside here at the same time.
Oh my gosh.
I know. And there's some Chinese birds in there. I don't know how they got in there. But now, over the past, since we went into quarantine, if you want to call it anything, I started working on the music because I kept hearing, because I drive around listening to it, and I kept hearing melodies here and there, and I thought, why don't I sing on it and write some lyrics and things like that? So it's taken me 3 months to make the next blueprint. So I call them blueprints. So the one that's on YouTube is just a blueprint, an idea. Now I've done the vocalizing parts, that's another blueprint. And now whenever I get the chance to do it, I want to put a choir on and a full orchestra. That's what
Just what a visionary. I can't wait to watch and hear that. And I have to ask also, John, obviously with 1,000 Hands Volume 1 coming out, will there be a Volume 2?
Well, we have most of the music ready for next summer, if we can get it recorded correctly. As we were last year, we finished it last Christmas, finished the album, not this past Christmas, before that, end of 2018. So we toured with the band a couple of times, which was fantastic. Great reaction from an audience that didn't know the music because the record wasn't out. So half the music was, classics, and half was these songs, And the audiences were just unbelievably good. So the idea would be, over the past beginning of this year, we did 4 songs, and I've done 4 more that I did last year. That after, in between, when I've got 5 minutes, I'll do another song. I don't know, and I keep finding songs that I wrote 10 years ago. There's one about lessons. The idea is that if you don't learn a lesson, you're going to repeat it. You have to learn these lessons.
Right.
Lessons learned and forgotten about, or keep coming back, And so it's a song like that, just me and a guitar. And it really is magic in its own self. Whether it'll finish up on the record like that, I don't know. But we have enough music for later next year.
Well, I'll tell you what, this album is amazing. I mean, as you mentioned, a few of the artists with Chick Corea, Rick Derringer, Steve Howe, Ian Anderson. I mean, the list goes on and on.
I know.
And it's like, and it just, and the songs to me, as I mentioned earlier in the interview, sound very new and fresh. Your voice sounds as great as always, but also with the ambient music that you use to open the pieces, and then the guitar work and everything else. I mean, there's just so many great songs on this album, John.
Yeah, thank you. Well, Michael Franklin was, he had the basic framework, but he just added the right people at the right time. And the idea is, as I say, which is kind of known, people say, well, why don't you be in the same studio? And I say, no, we're on the same planet. It's okay. So he can send me a mix and I can listen to it, and I can say, okay, just bring there's a bass section there. Can you bring that up a little bit? And my voice a little bit more, and the backing vocals up a bit. And the orchestra in the back, can you let it down a little bit towards the end? It gets a bit, sort of like a bit mushy. And things like that, And I talk to Michael, and, we Skyped all the time. And so he said, yeah, okay, I get it. And then 2 days later, it comes back just right. And that's the way you work with somebody, is like, give them the chance to project what they want to do. And then if it's great, it's great. You don't touch it. And then sometimes you need a little bit here. And maybe this section we should edit out because it's going on and on. I know. Are you sure? Are you sure? Yeah, and it wasn't until the week before we printed it that we changed the order around. And it was it worked because there was a couple of songs seemed to sort of drag at the beginning. I said, why don't we just put Ramalama straight in after now?
Yeah,
and I said,
I love that.
Are you sure? I said, yeah, let's just do it.
Well, I've got to bring this up too, John, to where the album is going to be available on double vinyl, CD, and all digital platforms.
Yeah.
The release is July 31st. I want to make sure, too, our viewers know, for your website, social media, and to be able to check out your paintings online, where should they go?
Well, JonAnderson.com. There's a gallery there. Not many things there. A lot of things are just everywhere. I just keep painting. You can get it on vinyl, CD, this, that, streaming, and we're going to get an implant soon. No, it's true. I've worked it out. We already have that knowledge. If you think about, what's your favorite movie? Tell me your favorite movie.
I would have to say Blade Runner.
Okay. Close your eyes and watch it. Because I can do that with Lawrence of Arabia.
Right.
I don't need a video. I just so
it's in there.
If you wake up your implant, which is called your brain, you can actually hear Ramalama now.
Right. Yeah. I'll tell you, you're a creative force of nature, John.
Yeah, but there's a book called The Future of the Mind by Michio Kaku. It's seriously good.
I'll check it out. I'm always looking for a new book to read, and I know that you have used many books over the years for some of your best songs and albums, too.
True. Herman Hesse. Can't beat it.
Incredible. Well, Jon Anderson, thank you so much for coming on the Rock Review. Congratulations on your brand new album releasing, 1,000 Hands. Looking forward to seeing more videos, and also of your joyful videos as well. Thanks for coming on the show.
Wish you well, man. Thank you.
Sponsored by the Big 98, Nashville's #1 for new country and the home of the Bobby Bones Show.